Okay, we're talking to Ryan Verrill of Disconnected. I appreciate your work on social media, posting about all the latest movies coming out on disc, and your
Thanks.
YouTube channel, where you go even further, breaking it all down. Today, we're going to talk about our five favorite old movie discoveries of the year. We've been doing this for a while now. So please give me your number five.
I am so excited to be doing this. I think this is the fourth time we've done this together, and it has been a really interesting year. I really wanted to shout out one thing, which because it's fresh in the mind. It's not really older than 2000, but I feel like this year for me was discovering things in the theater again that I had either seen or not seen like this. So obviously the big one for everybody right now is Kill Bill. The whole bloody affair just happened. But there's a couple of these that I saw, like kind of in new, refreshed eyes, or like a different cut that I'd never seen before. But man, that was just like the story of the year. So the first one, I had somehow never seen Spike Lee's 1995 Clockers. I have always been a big fan of Spike. I love the nuance, the layers of social commentary, the ability to break down like normal everyday feelings surrounded by these sort of grander scale feeling stories or like crime sprees sometimes that aren't necessarily huge, but in the scope of the story, they feel like the entire world is there staring at it. And Clockers is this incredible piece of just unique storytelling that is so visually Spike throughout the entire film that I just fell in love with it again. It was like one of those first ones that I saw that the first time you see the incredible ones that people have loved for years, specifically, of course, the major titles are great, but this one I feel like nobody talks about it enough. And I after seeing Sinners this year, going back and watching this and going, damn, so Delroy Lindo has just kind of always been amazing. Yeah, this movie's a masterpiece, and people need to go see it because it's hard when you're judging against somebody like Spike because he has these set in stone, amazing, everybody has seen them, but even his lesser films are so much better than other people could ever dream of making. So, Clockers, my first one. Take a look.
That's a solid pick. I like Clockers too. I used to have it on DVD, and I saw it a couple of times. Definitely, I love Harvey Keitel in that movie.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, it's a fun one. So, and this is kind of a great jumping off point because my number five is a very short documentary called Urban Rashomon, but
Okay.
it keeps it NYC and kind of in the streets, and it follows a guy who we just know his name to be Frenchie, and he's followed around by this guy named Kalika Law, who is a really interesting documentary director. And I saw some of his other stuff. There's Anton's of Beauty, which has Frenchie again, and then he did some Wu Tang videos, and he did a documentary of Papa Wu, a 5% story, and As Real, a 5% story, and some other things. As Real, what's interesting about that is he's the first white guy to ever be accepted by the 5%ers, and that's neat. But what I like about Urban Rashomon, it was the first one I saw by him, is just like the dignity he gives his subjects, who like everyone is who he talks to is basically homeless, and they have addiction issues, but the way he really puts it like up to them to describe themselves and to describe their priorities or what they think is beautiful or how they perceive the world. It was really interesting, and I loved the passionate empathy in it. Kalika Law was working on Wall Street on the day, and then doing photography and doing interviews for these documentaries by night. So it's interesting.
Hmm.
He doesn't make stuff anymore, and a lot of this stuff's available on YouTube. I did see it on the Criterion channel. It was like the stuff that was leaving that month. So I was like, ooh, Urban Rashomon, that sounds interesting. And I
Nice.
got really hooked into this vision of the world.
Nice. Yeah, it's been a great year for documentaries for me too. So that's a good pick. I need to see that one. Another big one, like I was mentioning, was theater watches. And this one, I've been a big fan of the main creator for decades at this point. I was raised on their stuff, and I don't understand how I never sat down to watch this. but God, am I so glad that I waited. This fall in IMAX, I went and was able to see Prince's Sign of the Times up on the giant screen, and to hear an entire large theater toe tapping along, seeing people dancing, seeing people from generations before me. I think I was one of the youngest people in this theater that night. Was just such a surreal experience, and being able to see the vision of somebody so musically gifted, fully like realized in the most all-encompassing way that he's possibly ever done. I mean, like this is one of the greatest concert movies of all time, and not only is the music incredible, it's shot so very well, and then you get, the music prowess of Sheila E. and everybody else that was just 100% on for this performance. I was mind blown. I desperately need Prince's estate to allow us to release a UHD of Sign of the Times because I would just be enthralled to be able to watch this at least once or twice a year at home.
Okay, I don't know this one, but I did see Epic. Have you heard of this? The Elvis
Yeah,
Presley.
yeah,
Yeah, I saw that at a TIFF on an IMAX screen, and everyone
nice.
was so engrossed and tapping along.
Yeah,
And oh, I love to see it. Love to see it. My number four is actually another documentary. It's called "The Missing Picture" by Rithi Pan, and his whole filmography, or as far as I know, his entire filmography deals with the Khmer Rouge and what happened in Cambodia during their communist revolution back in the 70s. And he is, a survivor. He moved to France, and he's like very much. It's like very like catatonically depressing stuff. I first saw his the first one I saw with him. I was taking a class in documentary film this year, and the first one I saw was S-21, the Khmer Rouge Death Machine, and it's very like matter of fact. This is the death camp, and like he's sort of interrogating the killers as a survivor to try to get them to feel something. But it's like way less sensationalist than the act of killing, and more consent based, and like therefore more like ethical, you could
yeah,
say, of like a documentary approach. Um, but very angry with it. And then also his book, I read his autobiography. That was really good too. But the missing picture, what I like about it is he talks about how life is, really formed by water, and he uses these like little like dirt figurines or puppets, and he arranges them to sort of make sense of his past. So it's like a retelling of the Khmer Rouge Cambodian genocide, but with these like little like dolls. It's very, but it's not like weird or funny. Like it's incredibly disturbing and very resonant and powerful. And yes, people should see the missing picture. And just generally, I think people should be into Rithi Pan. It's not like, it,
yeah.
anyways. Yeah, I'll leave it there.
Yeah, there's been some great stuff on the Khmer Rouge and that whole era. It's kind of astonishing how much we've been able to get out of that. But I mean, there's still stories to be told, that's for sure. I'm going to stick to the 1980s. I talked about Spike Lee earlier. This one is not Spike, but what made me think about him in preparing for this is I have always I don't know if I would say it's my favorite, but Summer of Sam by Spike Lee is like one of the best movies of all time for me. And I think one of the main things that makes me feel that is I was raised in the desert. I was raised sweating my ass off like 7 months out of the year. And Summer of Sam is a particularly sweaty movie because of what goes on in the film. And that like tangible choice to keep that in the film is not something that a lot of filmmakers would have chosen to do. Like, there's other ways to display a heat wave, but you would say, let's bring the characters to the supermarket where there's free air conditioning, and we're gonna have them talk there for 20 minutes, so we don't have to pay for everybody to sweat. No, Spike Lee's like, no, we're gonna have everybody sweat it out. And I thought that was a really great choice and risky then, and I thought it was maybe like one of the pinnacles that I've seen of that until I saw 1981's Body Heat this year for the
Ooh,
first time. I don't know how I've waited for this because I adore neo-noir, I adore erotic thrillers, I adore sweaty Florida movies, and this movie is all of that. Plus, I also adore William Hurt, and so adding all of that together, this like hit every notch that I possibly could have for me. This whole weird like crime thriller of we're creating the situation that's sort of our fault, but the way that we're going to get out of it is really exciting, and you're going to be steeped in the drama of that is always the best way for me to uh, truly get lost in one of these movies. And William Hurt and Kathleen Turner are freaking beautiful together. You get weird Mickey Rourke in this movie. Like, there's so much about this that is enthralling and beautifully shot and truly maybe sweatier than Summer of Sam by Spike Lee. And it's a gross movie, even though like you're supposed to be genuinely attracted to a lot of people in this film. And somehow you are, even though you know, man, it probably smells real bad on that set right now. So yeah, Body Heat is a under discussed in 2025 at least masterpiece, and people need to be watching it because it is so good. We need to get back to films like that.
Oh yeah, that's a great one. I actually started it and then the plane landed. I was watching it on an airplane, for years I've been saying, "God, I gotta finish that movie. That was so cool."
Yep,
But man, I think you've compelled me to do it. And I
do it.
also thank you. I also realized I forgot to say the eras in which my first two came from. They're both from like
Mm,
the 2010s. So
nice.
throwing that out there. My number three is a film called Revenge, by a director from Kazakhstan named I'm going to screw this up. Yermek Shinar Bayev. I think I did okay. And it's a World Cinema Projects movie, so put together
Mm,
by Martin Scorsese's Film Foundation. And I wanted to give a shout out to some other World Cinema Project movies that I saw, which were Taipei Story by Edward Yang. Ooh la la. Red is interesting 1930s sort of pre neo-realist movie, but from Mexico. Picote, which if you're a fan of sort of coming of age crime movies or like City of God in particular, you gotta like this one because it's Brazilian and it's like the streets of the 80s. Two Girls on the Street by Andre Dadath from the 30s in Hungary. It, the title says it all. Two girls in these streets. And then Munamoto, which is a very interesting film set in Cameroon. And one of my mentors here at Carleton University helped put together. And he's actually, he does the whole World Cinema Project thing and it's pals with Scorsese. But this one, Revenge, really is a vibe. It's from Kazakhstan. It said it was made in 1989 during the collapse of the Soviet Union. So he said to the producer, "Do we get to make another one?" And he said, "I don't think so." And then it's about it's a very poetic and fatalistic movie about this girl who was sort of pointlessly killed by her teacher, and her brother is just there to be what do you call it? What they call Lady Snow, but an asura. It's like basically like a Buddhist demon. They're not to enjoy their life, but to avenge someone else. And if you like, Lady Snowblood or Ghost Dog or any of these sort of like coded like assassin with a code movies that have this lyricism and poetry interwoven into the blood and guts. You should really check out Revenge. It's set. I don't remember what it's set, but it's definitely you get like feudal Korea in Kazakhstan. I didn't know anything about this. Lots of interesting costumes and sets, and a primal direction that I loved. I loved it. 1989's Revenge.
I have not seen this one yet, but I need to. And so many of those World Cinema Project films are just like truly incredible, and nobody seems to ever talk about them or see them just because they get lost in these box sets, and everybody's like, "Ooh, we get to watch this film that we've seen on 18 different formats already." But I digress. People are going to think we planned this because you just created the perfect transition to my number two here. And most of my stuff I have watched this year on, like I said, the big screen or physical media. This was one that I had meant to see years ago, and I don't remember what it was. I think there was a DVD release that I had came across and ended up not getting it. But then it got announced finally coming on 4K this year, and was able to dive into this movie when it finally came in. And I don't think I can stress enough how much people need to see this movie. And that is a beautiful Japanese film from 1973. That's definitely not going to be for everybody, but it's called Bohachi Bushido, Code of the Forgotten Eight. And so much of what you just said is literally this film. So it's hilarious because it's literally about a guy that is joining this he is like a Ronin, and he's joining this clan of the Forgotten Eight, and they are not great. They're terrible people. There is all kinds of bloodshed. It's pretty gruesome. But the big thing is this movie overall is just incredibly sleazy. And you can see that because the whole story is wrapped around the fact that there's like this clan war happening over local prostitution. And they do not shy away from the nudity, the blood, or any of that in this film. It is impeccably directed by Teruo Ishii, and there's choices in this that they must have practiced to not show the genitals like 8,000 times. The way that they move these bodies perfectly to be like, oh, the crook of your elbow will just barely cover your labia. So yeah, lay that way, and it is amazing. But truly, like before any of that sleaze fest comes in, which is what will win any potential viewer over if you get that far. The first 30 seconds of this movie, I literally had to pause it and say, okay, no, hold on. We need to turn the lights off. I need to make sure like no phones are even in the room because I don't want to hear a vibration because there should be no distractions. This movie is gorgeous to look at. It has some of the like literally some of the best shots I've ever seen in film. Like sunsets going down over bridges that look like Technicolor in ways that I could never have imagined, and they just pulled it off in random 1973 Japan in ways that are impeccably shot. I cannot praise this enough. Again, it will not be for everybody. There's nipples. There is tons of blood. There are lots of naked women. It is a beautiful, dirty movie, all wrapped up in one. And what can I say? I'm a human. I love to watch it. This movie is a masterpiece.
Nice. I got to check that out. This is amazing. This is right up my alley. And then
Yeah,
it's true. We never planned this in advance. The synchronicity is just what it is.
it's true.
So I realized actually just now, I think last year or the year before, I don't remember, but one of my number ones was Sallow, and I've got one that's similar. It's called The Night Porter. Uh,
Amazing.
yeah, really like this. I just saw it last weekend. Really, really vibed with it, and so it's basically this guy is working in a hotel post war, and this woman who he used to torture and have sex with in a concentration camp, who survived the concentration camp, finds him, and they gotta get this twisted thing back together, and it would. It's, and then of course he's in this like underground Nazi faction, and they're like, "You can't have sex with this Jew. What the hell are you doing? We're gonna kill you guys." He's like, "Ah, no, you guys are wrong. It's not true." Anyways, it's incredibly intense. It's really like people could be like, "That's hardcore. That's messed up." It's really just a manifestation of guilt and like
Yeah.
the layers in the games that people play to justify doing atrocious things. Um, so I'd say it's like it speaks in the language of BDSM, but it speaks in like the language also of its moments and of its circumstance. And I really like it. I think also if you kind of want to see the same movie but kind of reverse and kind of dialed back a little bit in a different sense, watch Christian Petzold's Phoenix, because that's a movie about a woman who survived a Auschwitz or some death camp, but her face is disfigured. But her boyfriend, who sent her off, who snitched on her for being Jewish, she gets hired like deliberately by him to be like his maid, just so she could hang out with him and like have she could feel his presence, and then eventually he's gonna feel her presence. Anyways,
Right.
that movie's way more subdued, but the night porter is disgusting, and he goes for it. And it's the 70s, and it's directed by an Italian. So yeah, I like all that stuff.
The Night Porter, Sallow, both really great examples of protest cinema in multiple ways. And my number one, again, people are going to accuse us of planning these. I saved this one for last because it is truly a great movie, but it hit hard so much more just watching it this year. And it's going to sound really silly mentioning this in the same breath as The Night Porter because they're
Mm.
not in the same field. We're not portraying Nazis or anything like that. But um, I I am truly astonished that it took me this many years to see 1990s Pump Up the Volume with Christian Slater. And
I love it.
I watched this on the Warner Archive Blu-ray that they put out a few years ago, and this movie, I mean, we've got some other big names in here that you'll recognize: Lynn Shay, Samantha Mathis, Seth Green is even in this, a small piece. But this is about a lonely high school student who takes over his CB or not CB, like shortwave radio in his basement, and he starts broadcasting his own like moonlighting late night radio show, and he's putting on an act. He's playing this full character. He is saying sleazy things. He's talking about his high school specifically. And of course, at first, people can't track down who is doing it. And so they have to find a way to root out the problem. And it's literally because he's saying things that the elite don't want him to. And I'm normally not one for quotes for something like this, but the whole movie was like really great. I was engaged through the entire thing. And then he says this one part that I would be remiss if I didn't include it here. And that was, listen, we're all worried. We're all in pain. That just comes with having eyes and with having ears. But just remember one thing. It can't get any worse. It can only get better. I mean, high school is the bottom. Being a teenager sucks, but that's the point. Surviving it is the whole point. Quitting is not going to make you strong. Living will. So just hang on and hang in there. You know, I know all about the hating and the sneering. I'm a member of the why bother generation myself. But why did I bother to come out here tonight? And why did you? I mean, it's time. It begins with us, not with politicians, the experts, or the teachers, but with us, with you and with me, the ones who need it most. I gotta believe, with everything in me, the whole world is longing for healing. Even the trees, the earth itself, are crying out for it. You can hear it everywhere. Same kind of healing I desperately needed, and I finally feel has begun with you. And the year that we have all faced, whether you be in Canada or the US or the far reaches of the world, it seems like there are a lot of places that are starting to feel dramatic effects of some pretty awful choices happening right now. And many of us are affected in very different ways than others. And considering what I do as part of my day job and how some of that has hit very close to home for me, I have been borderline like ready to give up. And watching this movie this year has truly lit a fire of just you have to do your best to stick that to the person who wants the worst for you. And I needed it so much. This movie is so not the Night Porter, but I would genuinely say in the right hands, this can be as impactful as the Night Porter. And protest cinema exists in so many different forms and functions. And good Lord, did this really light a fire protest inside me.
Ah, it's beautiful. And for people who don't know, you work in immigration, correct?
I do,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, geez Louise. Yeah, it's been a wild year. It's been something else. My movie is from one of those far. My favorite movie comes from of old movie discovery of the year. Comes from one of those far reach lands. It comes from Taiwan. It's Yi
Nice.
Yi from the year 2000 from Edward Yang, which is getting a nice 4K Criterion
Yep.
transfer release on January, I believe.
Yep.
So it's coming up. So hopefully y'all are stoked for this. I'm actually very stoked. It's coming to one of my rep house theaters on
Ooh, nice.
Christmas Eve. I might watch a 3 hour Taiwanese movie. Just forget the family. I'm watching Edward Yang. This movie's
That's how you
so.
celebrate.
I'm not sure. We'll see. We'll see. But I really got down with this one, and I was I was walking by, I'm here in the film studies department at Carleton University, and I was walking by one of my profs' offices, and the door was open, and she teaches Chinese cinema, and I was saying, what is it about this movie that's so good? And it's really like inexplicable to me, almost like it's there is like this magical aura within it, where I feel like it's like a chamber drama. It's just people in rooms talking to each other. What could be so magical? But it is magical. The way that things sync up, like certain locations and people coming back to spots, and the fact that it's like this long film and people kind of come and go within different spaces, just like the the sheer love and understanding of its locations, and some of the shots, like on the cover you see the back of the kid's head, and like it's really about getting you to look at things differently, and that's definitely a theme, I think, for my five with Urban Rashomon. There's that empathy with the missing picture. It's like a different approach of looking at a reoccurring subject matter for the director. Revenge is from a totally different part of the world, going through a very tumultuous period. The Night Porter, just crazy. But this one is, yeah, it's relation to its environment, and it's a very subdued approach. And the fact that I don't usually go like bananas about something like that, I don't know. It's Mondo movie mysticism. It's the only explanation. But I can't put it into words, but it just landed with me. And it's my favorite movie that I watched this year.
This may genuinely be like one of the most beautiful movies shot ever.
Yeah.
I am so excited for that 4K. I technically I don't think I own a copy of Yi Yi, and as somebody that has seen it multiple times and has a giant collection, I don't know how I don't. It's just never come across. But now, I mean, what better way to make the first purchase be a beautiful restored 4K? So
Beautiful. Well, Ryan, thank you so much for your time. Like you said, we've done this several times now, and I hope we do it several more times.
I'll be
Uh,
there.
Hell yeah! What's give yourself a one more plug. Tell people where they can find you, and tell people what they can expect from your content.
Sure. I am everywhere under the name The Disc Connected, and I am somebody that loves physical media. I am posting information on news, announcements, deals, things that I find that are out of print that I just, hey, this just popped up. You might want to purchase it quick, sort of things. I also, to kind of sum all that up, I do a live show every Thursday night on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, all these places to cover all of those announcements, make sure that people know the details, things that I would recommend keeping an eye on in case, like, hey, the three different companies are putting this film out. Which one is the best? Which one should I go after? Watch my show. We'll talk about that. But every one of those shows I have a guest on, and we go through all of those announcements. But then the most important part is we do a film discussion afterwards. We'll talk about some sort of like top five list, or do an educational segment on a full genre or a director or an actor, and it's just the best time. And if you can't be there live, no worries. It lives there on YouTube, and it comes out as an audio podcast a couple hours later. I also print a magazine every month called The Physical Media Advocate. You can pick that up worldwide on Amazon and a bunch of places in person, in stores in the United States, even one in Canada, working on some other countries right now, but it's everywhere. And if you follow The Disconnected fast, you'll be able to find some of the biggest news for my life that I'm announcing next month in January, and I cannot wait to share it with the world.
Okay, that's beautiful. Well, thank you so much for your time once again.
Thanks, sir.